He has Recruiter the Guard. He has turn 1 Mom. He does have Vial. This looks like a pretty good D&T hand. No utility lands. Bunch of planes.
Billy Buttons is playing Dale. He is playing blue lands. What else?
My man.
He hasn't played that deck in probably a year.
I haven't played that deck in like 4 years. Me and Billy used to have blue lands mirrors. Shoo. I just built a version of blue lands splashing white for Renegade Rallier. That's my current pet project.
Oh, yeah. So, my roommate, Chris Strachan, is playing Maverick with Renegade Rallier, and it's such a good card.
Good.
Like, it allows you can go waste you, Rallier, waste you. Yep. Just in one turn, just cycle it like that.
What I like about it in lands is fishing back explorations and mana bonds that you might have dredged. Molten Vortex you can get back out of the yard. Alright, so a Thoughtseize. Looks like a tag to the Ether Vial.
It's career mana costs 3 or less, right?
Yes.
So you can get Tracker back?
No, it's only 2 or less with Renegade
Oh, it's 2 or
Rallier.
less,
Yeah.
okay.
Bummer. Can't get other Ralliers. You could go DI.
Chain.
Them out. There's a Hearthstone card that does that, I'm pretty sure. It's like, bring back all the ones that died this game.
Alright. So Ben's going to lead up with the Thoughtseize. And I didn't see what he took. Steve's Graveyard was off screen.
He took Mother Runes, I guess. I thought he would take the Ether Vial.
No, so then Steven was able to put in an Aether Vial, and then Ben's going to follow with a Tarmogoyf, which I think, yeah, it looks like a Mother Rune, so it should be a 2-3 now.
Mm-hmm. So we don't have that much information about which bug variant this is. Goyf, Thoughtseize, and 2 lands could really be any of them.
It really could be any of them.
Zoth the Corruptor, oh god.
So he's going to port the Trop in the upkeep.
This is where the Death Nexus player wants to be. Just, sitting on my Vial.
Yep. Able to port you and get Vials. Ooh, there's a Wasteland. That's a good card. So now there's a land in there, so I think that's the 3.
Yep.
Steven's going to take 3 from Tarmogoyf here. File's going to go up to 2. I think he just drew a Sanctum Prelate. Is that what I saw?
Yes.
So Sanctum Prelate is a new, relatively new guy. Came from Conspiracy, I believe, right?
Conspiracy 2, yeah.
So it's 2 white and 1 colorless for a 2/2. And as it enters the battlefield, you choose a number, and then non-creature cards with career mana cost equal to the chosen number cannot be played. So it's sort of like Chalice of the Void, but the card can't even be cast.
And it only affects non-creature spells.
Right.
So my nice creature-filled deck doesn't care.
But it does stop Abrupt Decay. So I think that's another 3 there.
That is a Mishra's Factory.
And there's a, yeah.
Are we looking at like a
Bug Land Still?
Bug Still.
There's another Tarmogoyf. There's a Friction Revoker. That's probably going to name... I can't name Mishra's Factory because it has to name a non-land card.
Likely name a Planeswalker of some sort. We can try to get confirmation as to what they're naming.
Yeah. Indeed, all the Goyfs. Oh, he wrote it down on a piece of paper, but I cannot read that piece of paper.
It says Deathrite Shaman.
Deathrite Shaman is the name for Friction Revoker. That makes sense.
Yeah, remember we're walking into the middle of game 2 here, so the players have knowledge about each other's decks that we don't necessarily. Mishra's Factory, my boy.
So we're counting for Goyf, I think?
So to answer your question, Kyle, if this is a Landstill deck like I suspect, then I would think that Landstill is likely favored. Pernicious Deed tends to accompany Standstill in these types of decks, and Deed is like a kick in the nuts for Death and Taxes. That puts you down.
There we go. Alright, so I think 1 Goyf got Swords and
Loud. And we believe that they're 3 power.
3. Right? Yeah, should be 3. And I think that is a crack for 2 from Friction Revoker.
The Plow going to the yard puts them up to 4, though, right? Instant sorcery creature land.
Oh, it would, yeah. So Steven's probably it.
Well, the Plow resolves. It's weird. Yeah, because this one did connect. Okay.
Well, it gets exiled before the Plow resolves, and then and the life gain happens, and then the Plow goes to the graveyard.
Alright, so he's considering... I believe Recruiter's probably the play here.
He's going to put Prelate in. I'll be interested to see what he names. I think he's going to use a die to represent it. So we'll see what he chooses. The other nifty thing about Sanctum Prelate that Chalice doesn't do is Chalice, Sanctum Prelate against Storm, you can name 4, and now they can't cast Tendrils of Agony. Chalice is hard to put on 4. Yeah. You have to tap 8 mana.
Not only that, but this does not counter the spells in the way the Chalice does, so you can shut off Decay.
Yep.
Like, they just can't cast it. They can't put it on the stack.
Yep. And also Storm triggers, so, like Flusterstorm, for example, you can cast a Flusterstorm in a Chalice for 1 because a Storm trigger happens, and the copies don't trigger the Chalice.
But he trades it away immediately, so...
Yep.
Prelate trades for Factory, and it looks like he takes 4.
Should be. Should be 4. We believe Steven's at 6. We'll just make sure. That's our calculations. We'll make sure that that's correct.
Having 3 lands in Recruiter is a good place to be. So Recruiter gets in for 2.
There we go. All right, now we can scooch this a little closer. Hopefully this mic will be a little clearer. All right, we're activating Vial, and not... Oh, we're just going to cast Recruiter. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, Kyle is right. If he has Mirror Crusader, this is a very good card to get.
So I believe he's going to get Flicker Wisp here, and he's going to Vial it in, blink the Recruiter, and get another creature. That's what I'm assuming. Probably chump the Tarmogoyf with the Recruiter after... block it, Vial and Flicker Wisp, blink it. Tarmogoyf doesn't have Trample, so that's going to prevent the damage for a turn.
Yeah, the difference between Recruiter the Guard and Imperial Recruiter, the card it's obviously patterned off of, is that Recruiter the Guard cares about toughness, which means it can go get Flicker Wisp, but just that small change in the text box just made so much of a difference.
Yeah.
Yep, so he gets to basically get a free chump block out of this, because it is declared as a blocker and then exiled.
Yep. Ben's going to play Deathrite. Remember, that is locked down with the Friction Revoker. Steven's Recruiter comes back in at end step, and he's going to trigger it and search for another creature.
So if he has Crusader, again, we might see it here. If not, then... Oh, I did see Gideon Outlaws in the card in his deck.
Yeah. That's one I've seen a lot more recently
and that's
from
a
these
Palace
different
Jailer.
taxes. That is
man.
Palace Jailer? All right, so
4
Palace
drops
Jailers.
The format.
Yeah, that's a new one from Conspiracy. Again, from Conspiracy 2. It's 2 colorless and 2 white for a 2/2, and I think it's a human soldier.
Probably.
So when it enters the battlefield, you become the Monarch. And also when it enters the battlefield, you may exile another target creature for as long as you are the Monarch.
Yeah.
For another opponent controls, for as long as you are the Monarch. And the Monarch is, at the beginning of your end step, you draw a card, and whenever a creature deals combat damage to you, that player becomes the Monarch.
It's a very high risk-reward card.
Yeah. So right now he can Palace Jailer and get the Tarmogoyf, and then he's going to get card advantage out of it.
Ooh, but he didn't take the Vial up. If you just drew the Jailer...
Well, he's got
he has
a Caracas and a Plains in his hand. So I think he's planning on hard casting.
He did not play a land drop last turn, I think. He was on 3 before this.
Yeah, and also he wants to main phase it because the Monarch draws him a card at end step.
Palace Jailer is a... because the Monarch mechanic was hard for them to code, it's a card that has not existed on Magic Online for a while and has contributed a little bit to a... divergence in the online and paper legacy metagames. But they did finally decide 8 months later that they're finally printing a Palace Jailer on Magic Online. Look at me, I'm the Monarch now. Somehow I don't think that Deathrite Shaman is going to be able to connect.
Yeah, there's a decent amount of blockers in play for it. Palace Jailer being a 2/2 says hi.
So Ben draws a Leovold, but the Deathrite is shut down, and he cannot cast it.
Yep. Ben's going to crack a fetch here. Go get a C.
And this is probably the matchup where Palace Jailer was, when people put this in the deck, this is what they imagine. They're like, I'm going to eat a Tarmogoyf with it. My opponent's never going to hit me. It's going to sit there. It's just going to be a card advantage engine for the rest of the game.
Twin Dome actually makes a good point. If he uses Vial and he main phases Vial, and he draws swords off of Palace Jailer, he could cast it. The other problem is, though, that it's probably the only 4 he has in his deck. So you're basically taking Aether Vial and saying, this only puts in Palace Jailers now.
Sacrifice Aether Vial,
So
put in your 1/4 drop.
Yeah, there's that element to it. You gotta keep an eye on that. And I think that's probably what Steven is doing.
The ideal Palace Jailer scenario. We are in the dungeon of the palace right now.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
clanking the keys. He's ready to go.
Palace Jailer is one of those cards made me want to pick up my moat deck again. Now, I can never actually play it in a real event because getting 4 moats is a freaking nightmare. But
you have enough friends, James, that you can find moats.
But if you have a moat in play and you play Palace Jailer, the vast majority of decks are just dead to that.
Yep.
One of the things the deck struggles with is card advantage, so...
So there's the Mirror Crusader. He did make an appearance. We were correct about that. And at that point, I think we can safely say this game is probably over.
Yeah, Mirror Crusader's a stone cold nuts in this matchup.
So Ben's most live draw is Pernicious Deed. If like we suspected, he has that in his deck. The presence of the Mishra's Factory made me think so. But he's not even close to enough mana to deed for 4 or 3.
And the other thing is, okay, he's just gonna do it now. I'm actually kind of surprised he's doing this now. So, I was going to say he has Council Judgment in hand, so even if he got deed, he could just Council Judgment it. But is he going for lethal here? 2 from Jailer, 4 from Crusader, 1 from Recruiter.
Ben goes down to
2 from Revoker, 3, so 5 there, 5 there, so 10. Yeah, that's currently lethal. So Council's Judgment on Deathrite Shaman would be, and then attack with the team is going to be lethal here for Ben Burchett. So he's going to have to respond. He's cracking a fetch. Let's see what he does. He might Brainstorm? Brainstorm.
3 mana Sorcery Speed, kill your Squire.
This is the match on the line here. He drew a Diabolic Edict, but he only has 1 mana. Did he get a Fatal Push? Or is he just dead? Yeah, he's dead. All right, and that's going to do it for the match. So, Steve Dupal is going to take this one 2-0. Just as everybody was kind of mentioning, this is just a quintessential Death and Taxes game. And that's just exactly how Death and Taxes wants to play. As Wasteland Go points out in the chat, this game was lost probably on turn 1 when Ben did not take Vial with that Thoughtseize, and I have to agree with that.
I was very surprised by that.
Yeah, I mean, so
Mother Runes is a problem. That's what he took instead. 4 bug without direct removal spells, Mother Runes can also take over a game, but not nearly as much as Aether Vial. Aether Vial is a mana accelerant. It is gives all your spells flash. And uncounterable. It's just very powerful.
Yeah, it's the fuel. It makes the engine go. Without Aether Vial, Death and Taxes is not as good of a deck. I'm just gonna say that. It's just a fair white guys and gals, trying to disrupt you, but they had to basically tap out almost every turn to get things onto the table. With Aether Vial, they're able to put those things into play at instant speed, and they're able to do things like port you, waste you, Croc as your guys.
So many utility lands, so you have abilities on your lands that allow you to use them without producing mana, or you just have the mana available and you can cast 2 spells a turn.
Yeah.
Feels great.
And we saw that. So Steven, with the Vial on 3, he was able to get Recruiter the Guard, hard cast it, go get a Flicker Wisp, Vial in the Flicker Wisp, stall Goy for a turn, and then go get, I forget what he picked up with it, but go get another creature and play that creature. So without the Vial, he casts Recruiter, he goes and gets Flicker Wisp.
Waits a turn.
Next turn, he casts Flicker Wisp.
Waits a turn.
Waits a turn.
Yeah.
He can't do the trick. He can't do the blocking trick with the Tarmogoyf. He just has to chump it. Now, he would have had a Mom in play, so he could have blocked probably and given protection, but yeah, it's a tough spot. I mean, Mom is tough, but Vial really just makes the deck.
Yeah,
makes the deck work.
Vial turns the deck into overdrive, and this is I was telling my friend on the drive up here. He plays Burn. I'm like, the games in which D&T has Vial and the games in which they don't are just massively different. Vial is the best card in the deck. It's not close. It's just way too good. So if I have a Thoughtseize and I get to be on the play, so I can Thoughtseize their Vial before they play it, I am taking that opportunity 100%.
Yeah, Chileth points out Death and Taxes is still hella strong without Vial, and it is. It's still a good deck. It's not as good of a deck if you don't have Vial in play. It's still a good deck.
And in this matchup, a lot of his cards matched up well, so even playing them at Sorcery Speed I think would have been fine. a time delayed like a recruiter for Crusader and then play Crusader is still good enough to stop the onslaught of Goyfs. His opponent had no removal anyway. The Revoker would have lined up fine, but Vile really let him get away with basically deploying his hand at a much faster rate than he would have been able to otherwise.
Yep. Yeah, Vile makes Recruiter a lot better because you don't have to spend all of this mana to cast the spells.
Somebody asked for the 4-color control list. We don't have it here. We had to hand the deck list back, but I believe you can find it on MTG Top 8. It was listed as Leovoldless bug, which I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's if you just like do a search like Legacy decks containing Kolaghan's Command, I'm sure it's probably the only one.
I think he also got the list from Noah Walker. Now I think that was that GP took place before Fatal Push's printing, but you can get probably 90% of the deck list from the Wizard site. Or it might not be on Wizard site. It might be on MTG Top 8. But either way, you can probably get it online.
Yeah, Fatal Push is still a new card. They're talking in the chat, wondering how many the bug deck plays. It's somewhat strange because it competes with Decay. They do the same sort of thing, and you're really weak to things that cost more than 3 at that point.
Yeah.
If all your removal is restricted by converted mana cost. But Legacy's a low-to-the-ground format, and Push being a 1-mana removal spell is unbeatable.
Yeah. And the other thing is, so what I've noticed is with Fatal Push and Abrupt Decay in the deck, you can Fatal Push their creatures, and then you can save your Abrupt Decays for other trouble permanents. You can hit Aether Vial with it, you can hit Counterbalance with it, you can hit, Blood Moon, theoretically. Jite, and swords, equipment, yeah. So any kind of problem permanents that are non-creature permanents. So Fatal Push kind of lets your Abrupt Decay do a little bit more, whereas a lot of times what you see with Abrupt Decay decks is the Abrupt Decays get taxed.